If SMU is going to upset Miami, it's going to have to be because the defensive line came to play once again.
You are Locked On SMU, your daily podcast on the SMU Mustangs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
That's right, it is Locked On SMU here on a Tuesday, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Appreciate you making us your first listen of the day. And our episode today is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and you will get $20 off your first purchase when you use code LOCKEDONCollege. So make sure you tap in with our friends at Game Time for tickets, for concerts, sporting events, and more. I'm Grayson Singleton, and coming up on today's show, that's right, if you stay to the end of Monday's episode, you already know this, Malachi Ziegler is going to join us, four-star quarterback and a commit to the Mustangs in the class of 2027 from Benton, Louisiana. I've already recorded the interview. It is awesome. It is outstanding. You guys are going to love this kid. He's very smart, very humble, and very mature for his age too. So you guys are going to love this kid. So stay tuned for that. Also, at the end of the show, this will be a bounce back game for Rhett Lashley, and SMU's chances of winning this game, and especially scoring points, are going to depend upon it, but he's going to have to make it happen. All right, all of that coming up, but let's get to the main topic of our show today, is that I went back and watched Miami's loss to Louisville, and they've got a good offense. They got a good offense with Fletcher, the running back, Malachi Tony, one of the wide receivers, Daniels, one of the wide receivers. They've got an outstanding offensive line as well. And Carson Beck is playing good football, except for that Louisville game. So I went back to that game, and I'm saying, okay, how did Louisville do this? And I think it starts with the defensive line. And the first thing it starts with is making this team one-dimensional. Miami is a team that over the course of the year has run the ball for 4.3 yards per carry. They're a very efficient running team. They stay ahead of the chains. Beck doesn't take a whole heck of a lot of sacks as well, which is critical because he's not the most mobile guy at all. In terms of the best quarterbacks in the country, he might be the least mobile of them all. But you have to make this team one-dimensional. And Louisville, to their credit, held Miami to under 3 yards a carry. 2.6 to be exact. Mark Fletcher Jr. never got going, 8 carries for 18 yards. Jordan Lyle, 5 carries for 15 yards. And what's interesting about this game is that they didn't really try to run the football a whole lot. And Shannon Dawson has done a very good job as the play caller and OC for Miami this year. But it almost seemed as if he's panicked because Miami was never really down that much in that game. Now, you can say maybe he's learned from that, and maybe he has. Maybe he has. But if his behavior repeats itself and they try to go pass, now we're getting somewhere. But it starts with the defensive line and the linebackers, too, who just played their best game together because it's also been the game where they've been the most healthiest together. But they just played their best game together this past weekend. It's going to be imperative that the defensive line and the linebackers set the tone up front and don't let Miami get going with that running game. And it's an arduous task because Miami's offensive line is outstanding. It is a dominant offensive line. But Louisville made it happen with their front seven. So SMU is going to have to duplicate that. But what that also leads to is Miami being potentially one-dimensional if you do that. And what happens now is you can get after the quarterback. And that is where this game could potentially turn in SMU's favor. Because again, go back to the Louisville game. I watched through this game and I saw all 4 of Carson Beck's interceptions. One thing I saw every single time is that Beck was moved off his spot. There was interior pressure. He was stepping up into interior pressure also because the tackles got beat. So when you move him off of his spot, that's where he can become erratic. And look, his accuracy also, even when he's clean, is not the greatest in the world. Now, he's been a very good quarterback this year, and the 4-interception game may have decimated his Heisman Trophy odds and his chances for that. But he's been a very good quarterback this year. but especially when you get interior pressure on him, that bothers him a lot. And I know it bothers a lot of quarterbacks. And some are able to make up for it because they are able to back up and escape out of the pocket around the tackles. Beck is not that dude. He will be bothered and he will play poorly if you consistently get pressure up the middle. Now, why does that fall into SMU's favor? Because Terry Webb had 2 sacks. Jeffrey Embaugh has been a good pass rusher, all right? SMU's got the tackles to be able to get this done. Again, difficult task, but they have the guys, they have the ingredients to be able to do it. Every single one of Beck's interceptions against Louisville, of his 4 picks that he threw in that awful game that he played, were because there was pressure somewhere. If you can move this dude off of his spot, if you can, you have a good chance to neutralize this offense. You have a good chance to neutralize the abundance of weapons that he has to work with. Now, why am I starting off the show framing it like this? Because I know a lot of you have given up on the year. Why do we even care? It's going to be a bunch of 11 a.m. kicks. Yes, I read the message boards. Brett Lashley sucks. Kevin Jennings sucks. I got one comment that the defense didn't even play good, which, I'm not going to take that too seriously. I'm just going to take it as, yeah, I'm just a depressed SMU fan, which guess what? All fair and valid. It's all fair and valid. I may not agree with you, but I understand it. But why I'm doing this and why I'm phrasing it this way is because there is a recipe to beat this team. And I think the quarterback, albeit how he's been really, really good at times, but if you can get this quarterback to be really, really bad, this team like Louisville is vulnerable. It absolutely is a vulnerable team if you can get the quarterback off his spot. So we're going to start with that. But also, here's what Louisville did that I think made Beck and the offense uncomfortable. The Miami offense isn't predicated on big plays, but it loves its big plays. And it loves to take its shots with Malachi Tony and CJ Daniels. It is a must that SMU keep a lid on this offense. Now, how do you do that? You're probably going to have to commit less people to the box. That means you're going to have to make sure that nobody gets behind you. And I know with this SMU secondary, that is a lot easier said than done. I am well aware of that. I'm well aware that that is a tall ask for this secondary that has been vulnerable to the big play all year long. But if you can keep the top on the defense, obviously that means you're going to have to commit less members to the box, which means whoever is that nickel spot probably isn't going to, if this is the approach they take, probably isn't going to be a factor in the run defense a whole heck of a lot. Which brings this conversation full circle back to the defensive line and the linebackers. They've got to have their best day. They have got to have a big game and have their best day against Miami to make this offense one-dimensional and get you a step closer to making their quarterback uncomfortable. To me, that's the recipe. That's the recipe. Because if their offensive line is doing their thing and Beck is clean and untouched and they're opening running lanes, quite frankly, you got no chance to beat them. But you do have a chance to beat them if you can make the quarterback uncomfortable. And I think step one is making sure they don't get the run game going. And then step two is you got to get interior pressure on this guy. That, to me, is going to be the way for SMU to at with Miami and give yourself a chance in the second half. And I know that Brett Lashley did not have the most fantastic game against Wake Forest. As a matter of fact, he had a pretty bad game. I'm gonna phrase it like that because I don't want to get in trouble with using any other kinds of words. But he was bad. He was really bad. But if he can get back to what he did with Clemson, and what he did with Clemson was simply this: find something that works and tell the dudes to execute it. If he can get back to just finding something that works, and you give yourself a chance in the third or fourth quarter, at that point, we've all watched enough football to know that all bets are off. If you just give yourself a chance in the second half, and when it starts defensively, to me, that's the way to do it. So there you go. A little bit of a positive roadmap for how SMU could potentially keep this one close. And by the way, it's through the defensive line. What has been the best unit on this SMU team as a whole? It has been their defensive line all season long. Coming up next, Hopefully you guys have all been waiting for this. My conversation with four-star quarterback and SMU commit in the 2027 class, Malachi Ziegler. He joins us on the other side here on Locked On SMU. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of a game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything, from who will score the next point to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets in game parlay for a shot at an even bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers dollars in bonus bets when you bet your first $5 bet and win. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, welcome back to Locked On SMU. Grayson Singleton here, and joining me now is four-star quarterback in the 2027 class, a native of Benton, Louisiana, and committed to the Mustangs, Malachi Ziegler. And Malachi, I want to start off just by asking you to recap your recruitment process, what led you to SMU, and what led you to believe that this was going to be the right spot for you.
Yeah, so it kind of started, my recruitment got shot off when Marshall Levinson actually came in and he kind of filmed a workout for me. Mm-hmm. He was actually the first person to kind of do something like that, and that video got so-and-so however many views and whatnot, took off. And it's kind of been full circle. You know, SMU's always been there along the road. Multiple conversations with Coach Lashley, Coach King, and it's just been a wonderful family. So I'm grateful to be part of it.
No, man, that's really cool. What's funny, Marshall and I actually went to college together, so that's really cool. Yeah, we did. So that's really cool that he was the first one. That's awesome. You mentioned Coach King though. De'Aaron King has been a guy who is, you know, known as a fast riser in the coaching realm. He's been great with Kevin Jennings. He's recruited several quarterbacks in the 2025 and 2026 classes. Man, just tell me about your relationship with Coach King so far.
Well, yeah, I mean, to have somebody directly coaching you that's played in the system and had success in it, you know, that gives you a different insight, because the problems that you may have, you know, in the QB room or on the field, he has 99% chance that he's like directly had that same problem or something similar to it. And so not only can he help you through it, but he can tell you how he handled it when he was kind of playing and things like that. So, you know, it's just things like that. It's small stuff that they add up to be something big.
And, you know, you talk about that system. How do you think you're going to fit into that system with SMU as you continue to watch them and, you know, evaluate where your game fits in with that?
Yeah, I mean, I see myself fitting in the system fairly well. There's actually a few plays that, you know, we literally talk about, and I'll get a text, like, say, Saturday morning, like, love this wrinkle y'all put in. They run something similar. Like, when I was at the SMU game a few weeks ago, it was just basic RPO, hit the bubble, but you push, like, kind of sell vertical with the ball in your hands first. And we do something like that in the current system I'm in. And then to see Kevin Jennings do it, he did to the left side, I did to the right on the film. But, you know, it's the same play. And so to kind of see it like, yeah, I can see myself 100% fitting and stuff like that, because it's kind of an easy transition.
Man, like, just listening to you break down relationships and talk about things you're seeing on film, you've got a great understanding and IQ for the game. You know, who do you credit that? Is like parents, coaches, who helped raise you in a football sense?
It's been a village, honestly. I mean, you know, growing up, my dad never really wasn't like, I don't have some crazy heritage in football like that, you know. It's just, I told my dad I wanted to play football, and he did what he can to make it happen. My parents, they've always worked hard, put me in successful situations. My quarterback coach, Coach King, not Coach King, Coach Damian Williams. Even my baseball coach growing up, Coach Eddie Fitzpatrick, like, it's just kind of things it's the mindset really that if you kind of decide that you want to get something done, you just do it. And so that's how it happened.
Yeah. Let's talk more about your game, man, because I watched your sophomore year tape when I first started covering SMU, and then I've been watching your junior year tape so far ever since you committed, and you've made notable improvements in a lot of different areas, man. How have you seen yourself improve from last year to this year so far?
Yeah, so first things first, I really want to improve on my leadership because last year, I don't know, we were put in some situations where I feel like, I could have did better by my team, just body language wise, just all around really. And so that was kind of the number one thing I was coming into the season focusing on, like being a model quarterback, somebody that things are going good, things are going bad, like everybody's going to look at you no matter what. So what are you doing? How are you carrying yourself? How are you treating the water girls? How are you, I don't know, opening the door? Small stuff like that. So just kind of the way I carried myself, I want to improve on that. So that's probably the biggest shot I've made. More to on the field stuff, I really wanted better footwork because last year I felt accuracy issues were kind of apparent for me, and it all stems from the ground up. And so if you have a consistent base, a consistent drop, your eyes are right, things like that, that'll all help, and it starts from the ground. So I wanted better footwork. So those two things are probably, I'd say, the biggest thing that I work on all off season. And so, I'm glad that you've seen some type of improvement in it.
No, I definitely have. And, the footwork and the accuracy, I know you probably haven't watched a whole heck of a lot of this show, but, when I was breaking down your tape for our audience, footwork and your accuracy and some of the mechanical things was what I pointed out that you needed to improve on from sophomore to junior year. And so, man, that's really cool that you've been able to improve upon that, man. From the leadership standpoint, because that's an interesting thing coming from a kid who looks back at when he was 15 years old and said, I should have been better in these regards. Do you give yourself a little bit of grace that, hey, I was 15, 16 years old and I'm going to continue to mature? Or were you hard on yourself for your leadership and sometimes some bad body language?
Well, the world ain't going to give you grace, So, from a standpoint of, I was on the team last year. We had a lot of seniors, so they were able to kind of pick up for my slack, and I was able to learn from them. But at a certain situation, at a certain point in your life, you have to understand, like, at least for me, what position I play. What role I'm going to be put in, not even in football, but in life. You're just going to be put in leadership roles where you're looked upon. Like our head coach now, Coach Dennis, he talks about what are you going to do when you're a dad and, something happens. Like, you got a wife, you got kids, you got people that look up to you, people who depend on you. And that kind of hits for me, especially in quarterback, because not only will that happen eventually one day, but I have a team that is doing it now. That's looking up to me. That's, hey, what are we going to do? And so, I guess there's grace to be given, but at a certain point, you got to take ownership, accountability, and just do better. So.
That's a hell of an answer right there. That's a really cool answer. Hey, speaking of a team, you're the first commit in the 2027 class for SMU, and one of the more exciting things about that is the peer recruiting aspect. So I want to ask you, what kind of peer recruiter are you? How have you gone about trying to do your part to put together this 2027 class for the Mustangs?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing in recruiting is, just being yourself. The biggest thing for SMU, I'm constantly every day trying to make sure I fit into the program, not even as a football player, but as a person, Mm-hmm. And so you want people around you that kind of give same vibes. And the biggest way to know if you gel with a person is to be yourself and talk to them. I'm a big, text somebody, call somebody, just have a regular conversation type of guy. And, if you gel, you gel. If you don't, you don't. Obviously, we want the best guys. We want top talent, and so anything I can do to put ourselves in the best situation to make that happen, it's gonna get it done.
Yeah, that's really cool. Hey, last question for you, man. I'm gonna let you go and get back to your evening. I appreciate you joining me on this show, but you're gonna come play in Dallas now. That's my hometown. I love the city. obviously you've been there more than a couple of times before you committed, man. How excited are you to play in front of the Mustang fans and also just be a part of representing not just SMU, but representing DFW and Dallas, Texas as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's a blessing within itself. Like the honor to, kind of have the opportunity to be the face of Dallas. Like one of the questions I answered when, people were like, what led you to Southern Methodist? It's like the opportunity to be the face of Dallas. That's one thing you can't look past. People of Dallas, city of Dallas, is a wonderful place. A lot of things going on, and so to even have the smallest chance to be, I don't know, some type of speck in the grand painting is just, I mean, it's an honor.
That's really cool, man. Hey, Malachi, man, I appreciate the time so much. Thank you. This was awesome. Good luck the rest of your junior year, man, and we'll talk soon.
Yes, sir. 100%.
All right. College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. But that's why I use the app that gives the advantage back to you, the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is going to be what you pay. The app makes it simple, and I can even see my exact seat view from my phone before I even buy the ticket. And I love the zone deals too. You pick the section, and Game Time picks the best seats for you. And guess what? You save big as well. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, and go. Download the Game Time app today. All right, final segment here on Locked On SMU for a Tuesday. Man, hope y'all enjoyed that interview with Malachi Ziegler, man. Just a really cool dude, really smart kid as well. Love to see him break down his own film and break down what SMU's been doing offensively as well. So can't wait for him to be a Mustang, in the near future. I know it's going to seem like a little bit, but it is still in the near future. Hey, this is going to be a bounce back game for Rhett Lashley. And you don't need me to tell you that his performance was not up to snuff against Wake Forest. Pretty pedestrian game plan coming in, bad adjustments or really lack of them, and just never really tried anything new. But again, in watching the game back between Miami and Louisville, I found something interesting about how Miller Moss went about picking apart Miami's defense. And if you think picking apart is a little bit of a stretch, this was Miller Moss. 23 of 37 for 248 and 2 touchdowns, no picks, and a QBR of 72.7. That's a pretty good QBR, by the way. This isn't passer rating. So just so you know. Also, Isaac Brown, their running back, 15 carries for 113. Now, I'm going to leave the rushing part of this out of it because I have no idea, as of this recording on Monday night, I have no idea what SMU's offensive line situation is going to be. None whatsoever. And not going to lie, it should freak you out. It freaks me out as well. I have no clue what's going on with that offensive line in terms of who's going to be available and at what health capacity as well. But let's talk for a second about how Rhett Lashley can bounce back. And it's all going to be in preparation and schematics. Because what I saw on that Louisville-Miami tape is that Miller Moss had easy throws and you just let the wide receivers do the rest. But you've got to be quick, decisive, and accurate. And that's what Coach Lashley, that's what Casey Woods, and that's what De'Aaron King are going to have to hammer home with Kevin Jennings this week. You want to duplicate that in some way, shape, or form, you have got to be decisive. You got to pull the trigger. You got to let it go. And the receivers are going to have to do their thing. And SMU's got a good crop of receivers. Not Kevin Jennings, Jordan Hudson, Romello Brinson, even though he's being hampered by an injury. Hopefully you see some more Jalen Cooper in this game as well, the true freshman who looked good in Jordan Hudson's absence. RJ Maryland's going to have to play an even bigger role because Hibner went down with an injury, and we'll have to wait until later in the week to see what the extent of that is. But the playmakers are going to have to make plays. Like, they are going to have to live up to that playmaker moniker. But if you're Rhett Lashlee, you have to scheme these dudes into advantageous spots. And if you do, SMU could see some success. Because what it does when you can get the ball out quickly and decisively, one, it allows you to stay ahead of the chains, for one. But also, Miami's got this, I'm pretty sure you've heard of them. These pair of pass rushers, one of them by the name of Ruben Bain. And Ruben Bain is a dog, certified dog. Yeah, he's only got 2 sacks on the season. Do not let that fool you. That dude's going to be the number 1 defensive end coming out of the draft this year. He's really good player. Hell of a player, all right? And you don't want him getting shots on Kevin Jennings all night. So what you have to do is you got to make sure that you scheme stuff quick to neutralize this pass rush. Don't even let the pass rush get momentum. And I know that eventually you will end up where you have to drop back 5-7 step drops because you're in 3rd and long. I understand that that's going to happen. But as best as you can, that RPO game needs to be on point. That RPO game that Malachi Ziegler broke down, that RPO game has to be on point. Kevin's going to have to make quick decisions, and it's up to the coaching staff, ultimately Rhett Lashlee, to scheme things that are easy for the quarterback and also get the quarterback ready for what you need him to do. Because that's what Miller Moss did. I mean, so many times saw Moss just make quick decisions, whether it's a slant, whether it's a deep slant over the middle, whether it's a drag route where, oh, he's in the middle of the zone. Boom. All right, you do your thing, wide receiver. That's what's going to have to happen, right? Because you don't want to just be sitting in drop back against this pass rush. Not with the state of your offensive line coming out of the Wake Forest game. Maybe that gets a little bit better as we go on through the week, but right now, that's just not where you are going to want to live. Now, as for Kevin Jennings, too, because he needs a bounce back as well, and he's clearly not 100% healthy. We all know this. But as for him, he's got to be ready to have his feet set, because that was one huge thing in the Wake Forest game. Not only he didn't have happy feet, I mean, he had excited feet. Oh, I mean, his mechanics were all over the place in that Wake Forest game. But he's going to have his feet set, a good base, and be quick with his mind to deliver the ball. That's what it's going to take for them to win this game, is that he's going to have to be returned to being efficient. Sure, you're going to have to make plays. Sure, you're going to have to run away from some dudes at certain points in time. But for the majority of the game, can you hit the layups? Can you hit the quick stuff? Can you allow your supporting cast around you to be able to elevate the team and elevate you as well? He doesn't got to do everything. Just distribute the ball, be efficient like you were in the first 3 games of this conference slate, and that's how you're going to make ground. I'm not telling you in these bookend segments of this show that SMU should expect to win, should be favored to win. I'm not telling you that. But here's how they can, because here's how the one team that beat Miami set the blueprint. All right, that'll do it for Locked On SMU here today. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'm Grayson Singleton, and thanks for making me your first listen of the day. But for your second listen of the day, why don't you go and check out Locked On ACC, our conference show, hosted by Kenton Gibbs and Alex Dono. He'll join us at some point this week to preview SMU and Miami. But go check out Locked On ACC. They give you all the intriguing storylines in the most intriguing and interesting conference in college football. Check them out on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow on a Wednesday. Take it easy, everybody.